From possibly knocking out KSI in only 4 rounds, to fans predicting the Nightmare to be a tough opponent for the pro boxer, here's Tommy Fury's plan to end Misfits boxing. Turns out, Fury has a heated new rival, and it's KSI. What's a better way to end a boxing promotion than putting the CEO to sleep? Because that's exactly what the Love Island star is planning to do. TNT and the Nightmare have been fueling their rivalry like no other lately, so a fight between these two is definitely in the cards, and it may be sooner than you think. The Sidemen member recently put on gloves against pro boxer Joe Fournier for the first time in his career, but things didn't go too well for him. The Brit was given a KO victory over him in only the 2nd round. KSI was happier than ever and was already challenging new opponents, only to find out he knocked his opponent down with his elbow. I guess JJ celebrated a bit too early. That's a big mishap for the referee to miss. The bout was later ruled as no contest. The Nightmare's still undefeated, but his illegal elbow KO is still trolled on the internet. Fury was at the Misfits 7 event to watch KSI in action, and he had a lot of words for the YouTuber. He compared the Nightmare with his previous opponent Jake Paul and said, "This man is worse than Jake Paul in my opinion. I believe if I fight KSI in the future, he gets stopped very early." He then went on about how the Brit is more gung-ho than Paul, which means he leaves himself very open. Their rivalry only got worse by the end of the night. Yeah, Fury and KSI went head-to-head in the ring after the YouTuber's controversial bout. Both the boxers had hot words for each other. KSI talked about how he'd easily do what Paul couldn't, which is knock out Tommy Fury. The Love Island star is all ready to step into the ring with the Nightmare and make easy money. Fury reminded KSI that by beating Fournier, he didn't defeat a pro boxer. Tommy's the pro he needs to beat to prove his point. The light heavyweight vowed to put the Sidemen member to sleep early on in the fight. And guess what? I was pissed. He clapped back by saying how people never believed he could take down Logan Paul or Fournier, and he's proven them wrong every time. Well, I wouldn't be too sure about that Fournier win now. This exchange of hot words soon turned into a scuffle, and the pair had to be separated by security. It was an eventful night for Fury, who was previously brawling with Love Island star Idris Virgo in the audience. One thing was clear after their face-off in the ring. They both want this fight just as badly as the other. KSI wants to do what his longtime foe, Paul, couldn't, which is drop Fury to the floor only to prove a point. The Love Island star is in for the big bucks. Plus, he has bigger plans. He doesn't only want to beat KSI in the ring, but he wants to end Misfits before returning to the big ring. Let's get one thing straight. Tommy is a pro boxer. His half-brother, Tyson Fury, is the current WBC heavyweight champion, and his father's got a background in the sport too. So why is he fighting influencer boxers, you may ask? Well, it's simple. These fights are making him easy money without being too challenging. The Brit stepped into a ring with Paul in early 2023. Not only did he put an end to their feud by defeating the YouTuber-turned-boxer, but he walked away with a whopping $4.5 million. Fighting KSI is another way for the athlete to make big money. KSI is running out of opponents to face on pay-per-view, and he's the top boxer in the promotion. Misfits won't get half the PPVs it does without him headlining the events. Fury wants to put him to sleep in the ring and put an end to the influencer boxing organization. He ticked off Paul from his list of opponents, and KSI is only the next one. Ending influencer boxing as a pro boxer is quite a legacy to leave. Think about it. KSI, Jake Paul, Salt Poppy, Anthony Taylor, they're the top influencer boxers. And if Fury beats them, there won't be much left for the promotion. Paul's already planning on switching to MMA after his upcoming bout with Nate Diaz. And KSI is considering retirement. So Fury actually ending Misfits isn't a stretch. With all the big names gone, Misfits won't make the buzz it does now. Plus, there's nothing in the way of him facing KSI in the ring. The Nightmare has completely shifted his focus to the Love Island star. Tommy Fury versus KSI wasn't in the cards for 2023 until their feud fired up recently. Fury was lined up to go against Paul for a rematch. JJ wanted to activate the rematch clause ASAP, but he took the easy way out and went back to fighting former MMA stars. The Sidemen member also wanted to step into the ring with Paul. I mean, after their 5-year-long rivalry, you'd think this one would finally see the light of the day. But the problem child is failing to see eye to eye with KSI. It's crazy to think why he'd let the biggest fight of the year slip away and fight Diaz instead. This matchup doesn't make sense to anyone. But well, one thing's clear now. KSI versus Tommy Fury is inevitable. They both are practically begging for it. And it's getting hyped up in the boxing world. Yeah, their rivalry began recently, but thanks to all the trash talk, fans are all here for it. You might be wondering though, how did they go from having sheer hatred for Paul to hating each other? It all began when KSI slammed Fury and Paul after their bout in Saudi Arabia. Fans were shook when Paul ended up losing to the pro boxer. For some reason, everyone had way too much faith in him. I mean, even Drake bet money on him. Almost everyone was rooting for Paul, except KSI, of course. But turns out he wasn't too impressed by the Love Island star either. KSI began his social media slander by trolling Paul's ring walk. Then he went on to say how he'd destroy both Fury and Paul in a ring. He didn't stop there. The Sidemen member then called both the fighters trash. Fury was furious. No pun intended. He clapped back at the YouTuber turned boxer and said, KSI can sit back in his seat in London. Sparring isn't fighting. You've got to get in there to do it. Things have escalated since, and negotiations are going on between both the boxers' teams. A fight between these two isn't too far in the future. KSI believes he's got it easy against the pro, and Tommy thinks the Nightmare is just as delusional as Paul. The only thing KSI wants is to ruin Paul's legacy. And beating Fury is the #1 step. When Salt Poppy showed interest in fighting the Sidemen member, he said he would much rather beat Tommy Fury. The Love Island star responded to the comment by saying, "Wait, beat who?" KSI then trolled the athlete for not being able to read. The 24-year-old branded JJ just as delusional as Paul and said he was looking forward to their upcoming fight. Fans have been sharing their take on this potential bout, and what they have to say might surprise you. Yeah, they're all siding with KSI on this one. As crazy as it sounds, it's not a stretch. The Nightmare isn't one to be underestimated. Take it from former heavyweight champion David Haye, who's on the same page as fans. During an interview with IFL TV, Haye went on about how KSI would beat Fury, even if elbows aren't allowed. I don't think KSI's ever escaping this troll. He then talked about how the Nightmare's rhythm and timing were impressive. Let's look at it this way. Yes, Fury beat Paul in the ring, and it was a good fight, but he didn't knock out the former Disney star. KSI hits harder than Paul. I'm not the one saying that. Pro boxer Musin Kaysen, who has sparred both, said KSI has got the heavier punch. The man's got the African strength. Plus, he's got the gas tank of a monster truck. He fought 2 fights on the same night and won both of them via knockout. Pineda and Swarms were both overmatched opponents, so KSI's wins weren't too surprising. But you gotta give it to him, cause he didn't gas out at all during any of his 2 fights. Fury's a pro, but I wouldn't underestimate KSI if I were him. Just because he beat Paul doesn't mean he's got this one easy. And as for KSI, he thinks he might scare away Paul if he beats Fury. Guess fans will have to wait and see who ends who. So, from fans predicting the Nightmare to be a tough opponent for the pro boxer, to TNT possibly knocking out KSI in only 4 rounds. This was Tommy Fury's plan to end Misfits boxing.